Hello, everyone. One second while I bring all of my stuff up. Good evening. I'm so glad that you're here with us. We are bringing you some fantastic stress relieving, sleep inducing information tonight. We are very lucky to have our guest here to guide us on this. So we have Aparna here tonight, and she is joining us from the East Coast, a different time zone. So we really appreciate her joining us. She has 20 years of experience connecting with thousands of families in schools, in children's hospitals, other nonprofit organizations. And she works with parents, babies, toddlers, families, extended family. I mean, she really has a wealth of information that she's bringing to us. She's really working to help people to empower themselves and build healthy relationships with one another and with themselves, honestly, right? Through effective communication, creating boundaries, self care, confidence building, and light-hearted mindfulness techniques. So, tonight we're going to be talking about what breath work is all about and the purpose of doing it. We're going to be talking about short practical techniques that you can use to help with mental focus, to help with stress, and to help with sleep, which we all know sleep is so important, but yet our kids aren't always getting enough. So, and she's also going to talk about using essential oils and ideas to create a calming corner, which some of you may have those in your schools. The Balance in Mind and Lake Washington Schools Foundation work together to bring calm corners into some of the schools. So she'll talk about how to create that in your household. It might be for your kids, but maybe you need your own calm corner as well. So welcome, welcome. I would invite you to come on screen so we can get started and share your knowledge with us. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Sherry. My name is Aparna. It's so nice to see all of you today. My name is Aparna. I'm the founder of Beauty in Parenting, and I've been waiting to be here and talk with you guys for the last 2 months, and it's been wonderful. I'm very grateful for Sherry for bringing me on and to support all of you. Thank you for all of you who are showing up live and also watching the replay. And I am as she said, I'm a meditation breathwork teacher. I'm also a parent coach. I've been supporting families for 20 years now, since my teen years. And I love sharing ways to help families just self-regulate and calm and be more present with each other. I think it's a beautiful thing to have these skills that can serve you for life in all kinds of relationships that you have with work or friends, with your partner, with extended family members, whomever. And so I'll be sharing today a little bit more about breathwork and meditation and the other things that she's been sharing. But mindfulness is really something that came to me about 15 years ago, during my college years. And it was something that I started to practice and develop at a time when I was pretty stressed out. It was one of my hardest years. In college, I was dealing with a lot of classes that were really hard and dealing with a lot of family stress at that time and not able to focus. And it really helped me to be in community and learn from my teachers and my peers in yoga and meditation classes to have that stress reliever and to release that anger and that stress every week in any ways that I could. And I started practicing mindfulness really very consistently in the past, 5 or 10 years and building my practice. Because I was a child who grew up with a lot of anxiety and depression. So I was someone who was born very prematurely. I was 3 months premature, and I was very small, and I dealt with some health issues in my life. And I grew up just being someone who felt very different in life. I became someone who's quite anxious, and I dealt with a lot of family stress. And that caused me to just grow up having issues with relationships and friendships, taking on a lot of emotions and not knowing how to process them and voice my needs and to my family and my friends. I went through a lot of bullying and dealt with a lot with academics too. I had trouble academically, and I think I had a lot of focus issues as a child that went unrecognized. And later in life, I went through a period of time where I felt I didn't have much of a purpose. My jobs weren't working out quite well in the ways that they did. I studied psychology, I studied child development and neuroscience, and those were beautiful ways to understand human behavior. And I was very drawn to that. I think because of all the emotions I had experienced in dealing with mental health related things, I was very fascinated by learning why people were the way that they were and why families connected the ways that they connected. I felt so much joy in seeing the ways that moms connected with babies, especially too. And so in my work in children's hospitals, I worked in cancer units with young children, with babies through children who are 25, and I worked with premature babies as well. And that was a really beautiful blessing to be able to do that too.
That's amazing. I do want to stop just for a second, and I want to remind everybody that you are welcome to ask questions because we love that interaction. And we're also going to ask you questions. So here's the thing. If you want to ask us a question, put it in the Q&A box so it doesn't get lost, because then it's in this little box that we can keep track of. Otherwise, if we're asking you a question, put it in the chat box. Which brings me to a question for all of you. I'm curious about the ages of your kids, but also I want to know, do your kids have a lot of anxiety? I know that anxiety and depression is ramped up before the pandemic, but add a little pandemic in there and the numbers have skyrocketed. So, and so I'd love to know that. And by the way, you can do it anonymously. If you click that little bottom arrow, you can just say to the hosts and panelists, and we'll make sure we don't mention your name if that's important to you. So, all right. Sorry for that interruption. I just want to make sure people know they can ask questions.
I'm glad you said that because I want to interact and I want to hear what's going on with you all and how life is right now, especially as well too. But I wanted to share that story, and it is a deep personal story for me to share, but I think it's a huge understanding as even though I am a parent coach and I've supported families, I'm not a parent yet. I have a huge love for families, and I think people always want to know my backstory as well too, because I've done so many things. It's always wonderful for me to be able to share that and really help you to understand that. And I think that self-regulation skills, learning meditation and breath work, learning just mindfulness in general and ways that I can be more mindful in my day, whether that's going for a walk or drawing, doing art, cooking, doing some fun activities with the people I love has been really healing for me and my family in life to learn.
What does that mean when you say mindfulness? Let's just bring it down to the basics. We kind of all have this idea of what it means, right? But what does that mean when you're using that word?
When I'm using that word, I'm really meaning that from two perspectives. One is that you're being present. You're being connected with what you're doing. Your mind it does tend to go in different places, and we do tend to have this monkey mind where we want to jump around. That's the attention span that we have. But I think the other side of the coin is that you are, I have something in my mind right now too. You're being present, but you're also moving from your mind down to your heart space. I think when we do that, when we focus on ways we can open our hearts more and just feel a little bit more connected, it opens up a lot of things. Being in nature, talking with people that we love, laughter, doing things that we like in general helps us to be more mindful, more open-hearted. And I think that when I talk with a lot of parents who are feeling that burnout, but when we are in a space where we are just on that hamster wheel of doing and doing and doing, and all these things come up in life, or we're taking on a lot, we become, we start to feel that burnout. We start to feel that lack of connection to ourselves and what we really need. And then it isn't until maybe a health issue comes up, maybe something really big comes up that we can't manage, we get really overwhelmed. And it's about our coping mechanisms and how we handle and react to the things that happen in life too. So that's really what I mean when I say mindfulness as my own definition.
When you said that moving from the like the brain or the mind to the heart, I
Yeah,
actually felt that like that
yeah,
drop into my chest, and it's like, oh, I get to just feel what's going on
yeah.
instead of analyzing it and checking off check marks on my to-do list.
Right. And I mean, I get the question a lot of am I doing this right? Am I, with the meditation practice, with any kind of mindfulness practice, am I doing this right? Is this the perfect right way to do it? And I mean, there's no perfect way to do it. It's really just observing what works best for you. And that's what I do as a coach and as a mindfulness teacher is help you to find ways to integrate mindfulness into your everyday life too, because I don't want to add on another thing to your to-do list or to your plate that isn't going to be something that seems manageable. So I very closely in depth just work with those who feel that it's something that they want as a part of their life or their family life or just for right now with what's going on too. So I've had
Glad you
many,
said it that way
yeah.
because
Mhm.
a lot of people that are super busy, super stressed, super anxious, they're like, okay, I need to meditate. And then it becomes, like you said,
Mhm.
on their to-do list.
Yeah, yeah,
And then they feel guilty if they miss it or they're not sure they're doing it right. And then their
right.
anxiety ramps up.
Right. I specialize in, and you'll see this, you guys will feel this a short series of practical things that are maybe like, 3 to 5 minutes or so, because that's what parents need. If I'm working with parents who have babies or young ones, they've got a limited amount of time. They don't,
Mhm.
if ever. And so I want to be able to do that with them. And certainly I have, when I do, client sessions, I'm working for an hour generally with them. Sometimes it's a single session, sometimes it's up to 8 weeks. But I've had meditation clients for up to a year and a half because
Mhm.
they never had this in their life and they wanted to really let go of um, any kind of trauma or any kind of patterns, any kind of things that are ongoing in their lives that they just want to really deeply have this become a part of their life and support their family, support their kids too with it. And I think that being present, it just creates like a ripple effect with the people around you, and you'll find and you'll see that over time. And
Mhm.
it's not a quick fix, but the more you practice it, it will become something that will help you faster than you'd
Right.
expect.
It'll become your
Become
go-to when
it'll
you're
become a
stressed.
part of you, yeah, as
Mhm.
well. Yeah,
Yeah, and the kids are watching, right? So if they
yeah,
say, "Oh, mom or dad's stressed," look what they're doing. It's not yelling or,
yeah,
losing your mind. It's, I'm going to go and take some deep breaths. I'm going to go and do this meditation. So they're learning from what we're actually doing. So I love
right,
that. Yeah.
right. And I see that you have some questions in the chat. I'm happy to answer
Yes.
those as well.
Yes. So I have some in the question box, but also I want to acknowledge Bonnie saying that her middle child and her both experience social anxiety. So this will
Yeah,
be very useful for you.
yeah.
Okay. So let me, first of all, someone said that their son was also born premature,
Mhm.
and there's definitely a correlation to anxiety, they're saying, and he's
Yeah.
10 and anxious. Yeah.
I will say that I was looking at some photos yesterday of myself as a 1 or 2 year old, and my family and my brother were having a great time. And I think that I grew up as a pretty serious child. I will say that too. For my first few years of life, I think the issue was that I didn't know how to read emotions that well because
Hmm.
I didn't have that connection super early on with my mom and being able to have that physical touch and that looking at someone's face. And I do have photos of myself as a premature baby as well too in the hospital. Um, and so when I went on to do this work of working with premature babies, it wasn't like triggering or emotional for me. It was actually just full of a lot of love for them as
I
well.
love
So
that.
any of the children in the hospitals or anywhere I've worked, but it was a beautiful common understanding of
Yeah.
okay, this is how it is too. Um, but I completely understand that with the anxiety that is coming up, and I think it is a process. And she is saying 12-year-old twin boys, and one tends to be anxious, and they were very
Yeah.
premature. Yeah, and I think it is that practice of just helping them in their own way find ways to self-soothe as
Hmm.
well. And so mindfulness, meditation, breathwork are wonderful ways to help you to calm yourself, and that can be through a comfort object. And I have a blog on my website on different comfort objects that any kids of any age can use, but just um a way to, yeah, to comfort yourself when you need it as well
That's
too. And
that's really important. I've seen
yeah,
I work with a lot of anxious kids, teens in particular, and today with how connected we are with our kids with technology and such, parents become the coping skill or
yeah,
the comfort object, and which
yeah.
it's okay on some levels, but at some point they gotta
They need
soothe
those
themselves, as you
boundaries,
say,
right?
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, we can support, but we got to teach them these skills along the way as well.
right.
All right, let me tell you, there's another question
Sure, sure.
here. My kid's 9. Some days he seems restless. Even if I tell him to do breathing exercises or drink
Mhm.
water, he won't listen or do those things. And some days he won't sleep at night if they're, let's see, some days he won't sleep at night if we're traveling like the next day. So I'm
Mm.
trying to understand the difference between anxiety and excitement. That's a great question.
So 9 is a great age, also before puberty hits in general too. And I think a lot of things kind of start to come up with our children, maybe with their mealtime, with their anxiety, with, even sometimes things like their weight or their height and things like that. But the difference between anxiety and excitement, I think it depends on your child and probably their personality. You'll know when they're excited about something
Hmm.
versus kind of dreading it and things like that. And I even tend to get like that too before I travel. And it's only because as someone who's pretty sensitive, I know, like, I think for me, I know, and I was just traveling 2 weeks ago. I know I'll be in a completely different place, and I was at a huge event with about 500 people. But I think just talking through, and I had to talk through, from even for me, just the yes, I was really excited, but I was also anxious at the same time too,
Yeah.
ironically, right? And it ended up being wonderful, but I really said to myself at that event, I didn't know, I only knew like 2 people there. But I really had to say to myself, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I'll say hi to somebody, and if it ends up not being a great thing, like, I probably won't see most of these people again, but
Right.
luckily I'll probably get to see these people again too. But um the most important thing is how I show up, and I think just talking through the night before, a couple nights before, with traveling or anything that's coming up, any kind of like a test or any kind of big thing that's coming up, when you have, those transition times, talking in advance through asking your child how they're feeling, is this stressing you out? What are you excited about? Or do you need, what do you need? Do you need a hug? Do you need something that's comforting right now? Do you need some calm time, some downtime? And that, this will vary the language you use depending on your child. But um just getting to know your child and just acknowledging their feelings, honestly, can be the best thing too. Some of the hardest things can be, I think, knowing how you feel, or even not knowing how you feel as a child, and not feeling the fear of expressing that
Mhm.
with your parents or even with your siblings too. I
That's
think
great.
just
I think
creating that open communication can be really, really helpful. And then, you'll know later on, again, when you go to travel or do something next time, how they're feeling and what they could use too. Yeah, so
that's
it's a great
great.
question.
And these are the two, like excitement and anxiety. They sit side by side quite often, and
Hmm.
they can feel very similar in the body. So, and
Yeah,
especially like with a trip, we're all like, there's a lot of things to be excited about, but then
yeah.
there's the, especially for anxious people, the what ifs. Where are we
Yeah,
gonna stay?
the
What if we
an-
miss our plane?
right, the anxious could be like and even talking through, like, could be like sometimes your throat will tighten, or you talking about in your body, like where you're feeling the tightness. It could be your stomach if you're super anxious. It could be, your heart space. If you're excited, it could be just a little bit of a, just like some heart palpitations, some, like, your heart's beating,
Yeah.
right? That nervousness too. So I think it's beautiful to explore that, honestly, because it's a really, really helpful indicator for your child to learn that as well too, the difference between anxiety and excitement. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you the last question, and then we'll dive in
Yeah,
to the breathing if you can show some techniques.
yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to find understanding anxiety, and I'm also volunteering in school. Sometimes I'd like to know how to find or handle anxiety. Um, is that anxiety for you or anxiety for the students that you're helping? If you can just kind of put that
Clarify.
in,
Yeah.
yeah, then we can answer that. So. Okay, so shall we
Yeah.
dive into some of the practices you're going to share with us?
We will share that. I also just really quickly before that, I wanted to just acknowledge two things that I have
Okay.
here in my notes. So the difference between breath work and meditation, right? I do both of those. I practice both of those things and share that. I get asked that question a lot because breath work is kind of a completely different thing. So meditation, as most people know of as a form of mindfulness, it's really a wonderful way to calm down more and really focus on how you can, sit still. That's the general traditional practice of how you can sit still and really just take that time to observe your thoughts. And um, sometimes it's quieting the mind, but it's not going to be a complete silence, but it's really just the ways that you can acknowledge and be aware of your thoughts and what's coming up, because things will come up when you sit in silence usually, but that just helps you to better know yourself and to better be aware of yourself and your anxiousness. I tend to use music with meditation.
Hmm.
Even in schools, I've used music, and I think children are very usually more sensitive, and they will immediately, calm down or get excited with music. So you'll find like that's why at nap time sometimes like a playlist can be helpful too. Let's help like the toddlers that I've taught in the past too. Just having a couple, we found that in the classroom, having for a couple weeks straight, like 3 weeks straight, the same kind of soundtracks or mixes of
Hmm.
instrumental music help them, and then they would all shift and be like, no, I can't, I can't. None of them could take a nap, and then, like things would change, maybe the seasons would change or something would happen. But then we found we had to shift to something new. So trying out this routine, and that's why I focus heavily on routines, because I think that's just when you have a foundation of a routine in your family life, in your own personal life, that's just the backbone, and it becomes a foundation for you, so that when things feel off or you're sick or tired or things come up in life, you'll know what's going on. You'll find ways of how to manage that too. And so I coach you through all that. But breathwork is a bit different. It's most traditional breathwork practitioners, they will sit with you for an hour session, as I do, but they will spend a lot of the time doing like a very continuous practice too. And so you'll really get to know um, your breathing and your body, and it's a lot of releasing trauma with those kinds of
Hmm.
clients. With me, as a coach, when I work with families, sometimes I do work with families who are going through trauma or grief or whatnot, but it's a lot of really short practices to, as I'll share in a moment, to help with focus or to help with anxiety or anger and to help with sleep. And so these are really quick things you can use. A lot of my clients have used them in the mornings, they've used them after work, they've used them to help sleep, they've used them for grief or for just really difficult days when they
Hmm.
need it the most. So yeah, so I just wanted to share that difference between breathwork and meditation, if that comes up for you too. And most of my clients, we do a mix of breathwork and meditation, but it just depends. Some of them love to lay down during sessions, and I'll put on music on Zoom or over the phone, and we'll dive deep. Some of them just really want some breathwork practices to help them as well. And so, in creating a calm corner, as we talked about very early on, that's just a beautiful way, depending, even for you as a parent, I think we all deserve a calm corner, whether that's like sitting on your patio or like having a part of your bedroom that's a calm space, or even some parents, they have their car as a calm
Hmm.
corner, and just that space of just needing that space that's completely like not in the house, but something that's just comfortable and familiar and like aesthetically pleasing in some way, or you're not gonna have your plants like inside the car. Like we had a hammock that we have on our back patio, an enclosed space with plants, all of our plants around it too, and that was our calm corner. But now we have it's really just a couch and blankets for us now.
Mhm.
As it gets colder. But some children will need stuffed animals. Some of them will want some posters on the wall. I know some parents have used like chalkboards or dry erase boards to just help a child just get creative and just, let out their day of what's going on too, the same way we would after work, or after school. But I think any kinds of objects, and that's where I think, I teach people to create calm corners, but I like working with the parent on what's working and how to do that and doing that with their child as well. So I think
Mhm.
that's a good collaborative thing to do. Even couples can have that sort of calm corner that helps them too, individually or separately. So I just wanted to share those practices and share that that's a good complement to a meditation practice, to just
Mhm.
have that space where you just like need that door shut or whatever. Even it can be
Right.
a closet or your bathroom, I don't know, but if you have like a
Yeah,
nice
wherever
tub,
you can get it, right? Wherever you can
wherever
get
you can get
it.
it. Even at your work desk, I had some clients who had like a little bottle of essential oils, or like a little base with a reed diffuser, and you can put a drop of oil and just have it there, so they instantly could just remember, like when I'm stressed out, or if I need a moment and I just want to close my laptop or something, I can just take a deep breath and have that with me too.
And that's great, like the calming corner, to create it with your child so they can like really have a
Yes.
sense of empowerment. But also,
Yeah.
like you're talking about the objects, right? Because
Mhm.
if they're going to school, obviously they're not going to be able to tell a teacher, I want to make myself a calm corner.
Yeah.
But they might have a calm object. So maybe it is they
Yes.
have like a stone or something, or something soft that they pull out, or
Yeah.
it's just in their pocket, or
I know students who have had things like dolls, they've had stuffed animals, they've had like a cute little trinket, they've had like, for some of them it may be like a little picture of their family. It depends
Mhm.
on what works best, whatever's not going to make them too emotional. Um, but I think that like I said, what helps them to stay connected and to just, for the purposes of school or where they're traveling to, or, keeping their backpack or whatnot, just having something that helps them to feel soothed and
So
comforted.
for the
So,
person that asked the question about school, I think this kind of answers it, should give you some ideas. So we've talked about having a playlist, perhaps having a
mhm.
calming object, having a calm corner.
Yeah.
The breath work we're going to learn, you can maybe teach the students that. It doesn't always have to be a big long lesson. It can just be, if you see a child revving up, their anxiety is high, you can say, okay, let's do some breathing together, and you're going to show us how to do that.
Yeah, this is a great way. Breathwork is a great way. It's a great tool, especially in schools when you can't like hug your student, or it's just, and you're in a group and you want to help the whole classroom or something like that too. I think it's a nice way to just be there for yourself. And I know you can't quite see my chest that much, but um this is something that I just learned recently, and I've got a series of about 4 or 5 other ones, but this is a really nice one called a butterfly hug. And there are some variations and things like that, but this is something that I've used especially in the past few weeks too. And so feel free to have like y'all are probably, I'm sure none of you are laying down. Hopefully not. You
You
can,
never know, maybe.
well, you never know. You never know. I don't want you to fall asleep by the end of this. I've had a lot of clients who have just fallen asleep during their sessions, and it's both a beautiful thing and not a great thing, because then they have to call me back or whatnot, and see how they'll be like, that was so great. But for this purpose, with a butterfly hug, you can take both hands and crisscross them like this and place that on your chest. And I like to, when I'm being mindful, just tilt my chin downward a little bit, because I noticed when I tilt it up, that's kind of signals to my brain I'm active and awake, or probably like staring at a screen or something. So I tilt it downward, sort of if I'm praying or whatnot too, but just kind of closing my eyes if I can. And we'll take a couple of deep breaths. And so you want to kind of tap your chest, tap your fingers on your chest and on your heart space. in a little bit of a butterfly hug, kind of just to comfort yourself. And just see, and I'll take you through a deeper breathwork practice, but just kind of see for a moment how that feels for you to comfort yourself that way. Letting yourself breathe naturally. And just taking a nice inhale for 3 seconds down through the belly. 1, 2, expanding the belly. 3, and then exhaling 4 seconds. 4, through the mouth. 3, 2, and 1. And then opening your eyes whenever you're ready. And that I think is just a beautiful way to hug yourself and to give yourself that kind of hug. It's a nice thing, especially if someone's going through had a hard day or going through grief or anything like that, to just comfort yourself at that time too. And so when I'm using essential oils, which are just concentrates of plants, steam distilled into an oil form, I love using there's different types of oils, like a tree oil, which is made from like wood. There are floral oils like roses and jasmines made from the petals. There's citrus oils usually made from the rinds of fruits like lemon, orange, grapefruit, things like that. And um, there are herb oils made from, different herbs like rosemary and thyme and things like that. I love they find that herb oils are actually really great for the heart space to help clear out any kinds of emotions that may come up for you. Um, anger, anger is something that it can be really helpful with. But I love to just take a drop of an oil, and I don't have any bottles right here because I know that it's a little late for me over here on the East Coast. So I know if I use an oil, I will fall asleep and I have things to do after this. So I'm intentionally I'm very sensitive because my brain's like, I know you have to use an oil before bed, so I'm not gonna
Yeah.
do that right now.
So what
But
can you tell me again, which oil do you recommend like for the
yeah,
anxiety? Which one is
for the
best?
anxiety, a tree oil is really helpful
Okay.
because it's grounding. It's like
Okay.
being out in a forest. So you can use like spruce. You can use frankincense tree oil. I use doTERRA's oils, and they have a blend called Balance. That is it's a mix of different tree oils as well. You can use cedarwood, is a wonderful one as well. And so when I'm teaching about essential oils, I am teaching about safety with kids and parents with um, teaching about usage. Generally, you don't need more than a drop or two because it's very concentrated, whether you're using it on the skin or in a diffuser. On the skin, I always recommend using a carrier oil like coconut oil, jojoba, grapeseed, something that creates that barrier for you too, as well. And I'm talking also about, the different ways that you can use it safely as well.
And so they can find more information about that on your website, probably.
That is on my website.
Okay,
I do
excellent.
free
Okay.
wellness consultations with essential oils. And even if you use a different brand that isn't doTERRA, I still support you in how to use that too. I have
Okay.
many customers and clients who've used that, and they use many different brands. So I'm happy to answer any questions on that. I care very much about families enjoying using oils and also using them safely too. So
Yeah.
however I can help. So
Well,
for
I want to pause for
anxiety,
a
yeah,
second. Sorry, I
yeah.
don't mean to talk
No,
over you.
you're fine. You're fine.
I wanted to ask everybody who did the butterfly hug, first of all, to give us their reaction so we know, just do a little thumbs up or heart or something. And also, how did that feel? Because for me, when
Mhm.
I did it, I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. It was,
Yeah.
and what was that, maybe a minute or two that we did it,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
right? Yeah.
Mhm.
I see the
Yeah,
thumbs up.
you feel
Awesome.
a deep effect. So I know that a lot of people with me, because I as a practitioner deeply practice mindfulness, I'm generally quite calm. And so when someone is working with me or when I'm doing these concentrated practices, these short practices, people can instantly feel that impact.
Hmm.
of doing it, because it's like I'm giving you like the concentration of what I'm feeling, how
Which
I'm
is a
feeling as
great
well too.
reminder, like that we
Yeah.
have to take care of ourselves as parents because our kids are feeling what we're feeling. So
Yeah,
if
so they can
we
feel
can do
they
this
can feel
first.
the deep impact of um anger from you, or frustration, or disappointment, or any kind of emotion that comes up. I think that she's right. It is wonderful to, the more you practice something, the more it becomes a part of you, and the more, just like your child will practice something like not doing their homework, or feeling the emotions or anxiety of something, or not sleeping well, like it becomes a habit. It becomes some sort of a routine, um, for better or for worse, for however it becomes. But I think we have it within us. We do have the power to shift into something that works better too. And so like I said, I'm not someone who, it's not going to be like a 100% instant, immediate change, but it is something where I help you to integrate it into your practice. And it just depends on, how quickly you do that depends on so many things that come up
Mhm.
in life as well too. But I hope that, um, I mean, I've seen huge results even after a session of working with
Yeah,
somebody for
definitely.
both coaching
I've
and
after
mindfulness.
that
So
like minute or two, I can
yeah,
feel
so
better already. Yeah.
you can watch that back. Yeah. So we will get into and I'm just looking at my notes here. We will get into the one for, so Sherry, would you like to do one? So you will inhale through the nose,
Mhm.
right? Someone has a question. You will exhale through the mouth. Yeah. So we'll do one actually for anger, and frustration. That can be something that comes up in many ways too. I know that this is a week where I felt some grief as well, and some sudden things that happened. And I felt the emotions of deep sadness, but also the emotions of anger, of the
Mhm.
frustration of why
Yeah.
things come up for us. And I think underneath anger is fear. That's an emotion that can come up for us too. And so with the world events and with things going on in life, there's the unknown. And so when we can, when we create this mindfulness practice, the self-care, we better know our emotions. We better know what we're feeling. Um, and sometimes we can just journal it out. We don't always have to talk about it with others. And I encourage even children, it doesn't always have to be about the verbal communication. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's just the nonverbal communication, or the having that space to process things on your own, like in a calm corner. But um, anger is something that can come up, and it's okay. I think it's okay. I think it's a human emotion. And I think if we didn't express anger and weren't able to, that would be a problem. That would not be a healthy thing. And we see the effects of what happens when we have anger um, too much as well too. It can
Yeah.
really burn us out. So with anger, I love to do an exercise with children. This is kind of a fun way to process anger and frustration. But um, having the visualization of maybe having a dandelion flower in front of you, or you're blowing bubbles, which is something cool I did at the event that I was at. It was a parenting event, and it was a very fun event too. It became a very fun event. But just having the visualization of just taking that moment, just inhaling for maybe like 4 seconds through the nose if you can, and then expanding the belly, and then just blowing that dandelion for however long you can draw that out too. I find that the more that we exhale and kind of make that whistling noise, that helps a lot to diffuse the feelings of frustration, because it's deeply impacting us. We want to, release that in some way too. And instead of doing something like, like hitting a wall, or I recommend even like, there'll be times you can, hit a pillow, punch a pillow too, or just, instead of lashing out in a way that's going to be damaging and hurtful. And there are many ways that that can happen for both adults and kids. Finding that way to just calmly diffuse, even with couples I've worked with too.
Hmm.
or like coworkers or whatnot too, just finding those ways where you can practice that pause, that time to just to acknowledge how you're feeling. You'll feel it rising up, and then saying, okay, this is how it is, and letting that release. And that can be, and I do coach couples on co-regulation. And I talk about self-regulation, which is
Hmm.
what we've been talking about, that way to comfort, but co-regulation is how you can soothe with your partner, soothe with somebody else, soothe as a parent and a child together.
Hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing, especially at those times when you're really anxious or really angry, to be able to come together in whatever form. It doesn't have to be like making eye contact and seeing someone's face, but even sitting back to back and just acknowledging that, and just finding ways to release that together, I think is a practice that serves a lot of people. It takes practice. We're not taught to do these things.
Right.
Some families, there's not much hugging going on. There's not much validation or empathy. Um, or you're in a school system, and there, you can only do so much as well to a workplace. And so I think that, yeah, I mean, this is great. This is a great thing to do also, even before you like have your morning drive, your morning commute.
Hmm.
I think
Well,
it's
I like this. I really
maybe after the
appreciate,
coffee, but before the
yeah.
drive.
Dandelion and coffee. I
Yeah.
really appreciate the visual piece of it because you always
Mhm.
hear like take deep breaths and breathe
I
out.
know, and people are like,
And
no, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and this gives, especially for kids, I like the bubble idea. If you are
Mhm.
in a school setting and you can get away with bubbles, that's awesome. But even the visual of that dandelion made a difference for me because
Yeah,
it made it like I'm not just breathing. I'm having this beautiful visual. And for me,
yeah,
dandelions, I remember as a kid doing
right,
that and how joyous it was to
right. How
see the things fly
the
away.
petals fly
So
away. Yeah.
I really, really like
And
that.
so
And
and so, if dandelions don't work, you can do other things. You can do, even like it's autumn season here. You could do like leaves blowing, or
mhm.
snowflakes, or gosh, I don't know, like, even if you have like a diffuser, like the droplets and things, or rain or things
Yeah.
like that too. Just something that's familiar, that And in meditation, when I'm doing that, I use visualization a lot
Mhm.
with my clients. That helps them to just honestly just feel really good, and feel that, like, that goodness, so that it's not just like laying there being like, okay, is my body relaxed now? But it's actually just like deeply feeling into that
Right. Am I
too.
there?
Yeah, yeah.
I can see, like, if we do this with kids of asking them what they want that visual to
Mhm.
be, I can think of a few of my clients that would be like slime, even
Yeah.
like how much slime can I throw out there? Um, I did want to touch upon something you said that is extremely important. And it was this idea of hitting a wall or hitting a pillow, because for many years that was what people were like, oh, if you're so angry, just go hit a
Mhm.
pillow.
Or
And the
like
research
blow
is,
into a paper bag or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, so that's better. The pillow thing, though, they're actually showing that what you're teaching them is aggression when they're angry. So, even though you're like, oh, but they're hitting a pillow, it's fine, but it's still that, motion that
Right. I
you're
know. I
connecting with
know.
the
I know.
anger.
I think it's like the maybe not the next best thing, but it's obviously better than hitting another
Yes,
person, or hitting a
for
wall
sure.
or something. But it's just like sometimes you do need to, I know children and adults later on who've taken up like kickboxing and like things that
Hmm.
like are like a safer sport of some sort, safer movement practice. But I think, I mean, that's where I think also just like working with the client, and like working with your family, and finding ways to, even as a toddler teacher, on days when children were wound up and overstimulated and had a lot going on, or there was a lot of biting and fighting happening. I don't want to. I had a very
Gotta
fun
love the
time as a
toddler
toddler.
years.
I had a very fun time as a toddler teacher, so that's why I laugh, because it all ended up being like, we all got used to it. But um, it was a beautiful time in my eyes. But just like they had push toys, and they had things that they could grasp onto. Really,
Hmm.
I think what it is, like, and notice, like, even notice as a parent, notice as yourself, like how quickly when you're mad, you just tend to just like
Yeah.
grasp and just get tense in your hands too. What tenses up for you? and noticing that with your child too, like they'll, what are they like when they get angry and frustrated, or they're like overtired or all sorts of things, or they're hungry. But um, finding ways, most days I'm recommending to parents to just spend that time outdoors and release that energy what they can,
Mhm.
or things like chores sometimes too,
Yeah.
helping out around the house, being productive, um, helping cleaning. Most times right now it's parents who are like, I have a million chores to do, and I just like I don't know how to ask for help. And um, for me, it's right now helping parents find ways with their kids that they can make things more productive in the household and just like
Mhm.
get things done faster. Cook
Yeah.
together, clean together, plan for things together, and just not have the burden fall on one person as
Yeah.
well too. Yeah,
Well,
that's
and
the
what
balance.
a gift to make your child feel needed in the household,
Yeah,
by
yeah.
doing chores with them.
Right. I mean, so many parents are like, I don't want them to grow up feeling like they have to do these things and all these things. But I think there is a balance between what works and,
Mhm.
you don't want them to grow. I mean, you don't want them to grow up later on, not knowing how to do certain things when they really need to. I always caution parents and say, what happens if you get sick as a parent, or if things happen and unfortunately, and like you don't want to get to that place. And so I think
Mhm.
just that knowledge for that child of certain things can be useful, and just to
Yeah,
keep
it's
that
a
in mind.
gift for sure, for sure. All right, do you have another technique you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I can share a really great one for focus, for mental focus too. And we're making good time too. And I was telling Sherry at the beginning, I have only certain things because I came to Sherry when Sherry asked me to present, and share with all of you. I had a lot of things that I wanted to share. So many things, and she's like, just cut it down a little bit. So I did that, and now I'm like, it's gonna be. And then I was worried on it wasn't too short, but you guys are wonderful. So I try and stay calm and just share what I can. But this is wonderful. But so with focus, you can take focus for essential oils. A lot of oils like rosemary, herb oils, citrus oils will wake you up. It will wake the mind up. And so you generally just need 20 seconds of inhaling an oil for it to be in your olfactory system, your nasal cavities, and to just like have that effect on your brain of relaxation or mental focus. And so you can take an oil like rosemary, let's see, like thyme, you can take like an orange oil, a grapefruit, anything that for you, because our body chemistries are different, and just placing a drop in your hand, rubbing it together, and cupping that over your mouth, not touching your nose or mouth, but just cupping it over. And when I'm really needing to, if I'm having like brain fog, or if I just feeling stuck creatively, I will, before putting an essential oil, I'll sometimes just tap my forehead a little bit too. Um, but just cupping over my mouth and closing my eyes and tilting my chin and just inhaling, and just inhaling any scent if you want to. Just bringing that attention to my mind for 3 seconds, and then exhaling for 3 seconds. Inhaling, 1, 2, and 3. Exhaling, 3, 2, and 1. And so that will usually bring some oxygenation to the brain. You can also do nasal breathing, which is like closing one nostril and inhaling for a couple of seconds, and then using the pinky and closing the other nostril. Doing that
Would you do
on
that when you have the
both
essential
sides.
oils on your hand?
That you don't know the nostril breathing. You don't need the essential oils,
Okay.
but the cupping I would. That's just a more concentrated way to also just inhale the scent.
Yeah.
But the nostril breathing is really good for oxygenating the brain too. It's usually when we're having focus issues, we're probably not breathing. We're probably having shallow breathing, not breathing very deeply. And so we're probably just needing some more oxygenation. So breath work, and especially in meditation, it builds that lung capacity within you. It helps you to do that. And I will mention, I tend to forget this when I'm telling, my story. When I was a premature baby, I had those issues with with breathing deeply, with lungs, and I would get congested all the time too. And this has really helped me as an adult to not only regulate, my emotions and stay more calm, but help me physically with my lung capacity too. I didn't have great lung capacity. As a child, I wasn't great with physical fitness, but it helped a lot with that as well. And so those are the two for focus. And I hope that that helps both of you too. And that's something you can use any time that you need to when you wake up in the mornings, mid-afternoon. You can use that, when you're not on a screen as well too. You can use that for, I've had some clients with ADHD or who are neurodivergent, and it's supported them in just having that minute or two of ways that they can focus, and they can focus on schoolwork, or they can focus on the thing that they need to at that time as well. And so that can be something you can practice for my next one, which is sleep. And so I was going to do one for anxiety, which is just a body scan. I don't know if we have time for that. I just had a 1-minute one for a body scan, and then one for sleep.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. And so we'll do the, do you want to do the body scan, or do you want to do sleep?
You're not Let's ask everybody here. Put in the chat box, do you want to hear the one for sleep or for body scan first, just in case we run out of time?
Yeah.
Let's see what everybody says here. Give them a second. Both. Okay.
I know.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's just dive in.
I mean, they go hand in hand. They go hand in hand, the body scan. And so the I'll share with you the body scan, because actually the body scan kind of comes before the sleep, but the body scan can be done.
Okay, we're getting votes for sleep, so if you're open to do sleep and then body scan,
it doesn't.
Okay. All right, let's do sleep.
So sleep is one where I recommend this when you're laying down and you're in your comfortable position. I tend to do this I sleep on my back. But this may be one that others have heard too, and it's your 4-7-8 practice. So you'll be, honestly, a good thing that I do when I'm going to sleep, a great thing is if I'm wanting a really deep sleep, I will put my arms face down, like a grounded position. When I keep them up, and other mindfulness practitioners do this too, you're more in a space of being open to receiving. And so when you put your palms face down, like if you're putting your palms face down right now on your knees, you're in a more grounded position, because you're touching like your bed, or you're touching the floor or something beneath you. So that's just something that I've noticed in practice has helped me too. So you'll be laying in bed, but you'll inhale for 4 seconds. As comfortable as you can get, fluffing your pillow, of course. And then you will hold for 7 seconds, up to 7 seconds. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then you'll exhale for 8 seconds. 8. And I count backwards, actually. It helps better to do that. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, letting go. 3, 2, and 1. And you'll do that round of inhaling for 4 seconds, holding for 7, and exhaling for 8 seconds, longer than you've inhaled, for 3 rounds. And so this creates, it's not the easiest to do, but it does help to try this. It creates a good breathing pattern when you are sleeping as well too. So you're breathing well. but you're just, it's a deeper inhale and exhale because it helps you to sleep deeply. So I work with a lot of parents who wake up in the middle of the night, or kids who wake up in the middle of the night, and this is something when practiced, and sometimes they're diffusing an oil, or sometimes they have like read, had that whole bedtime routine. And I coach on this, the bedtime routines especially. But when you have that routine of dimming the lights or reading a book, or warm milk or whatever works for you before bed, combined with this, it helps you to have not only longer sleep but a deeper quality of sleep too, which just helps you. And you'll know for yourself what kind you have. I support a lot of parents actually who are like moms who are going through menopause or hormonal issues. A lot of people from 40s to 60s, and so a lot of things come up with sleep. And so sleep is a huge thing that people come to me for with their young ones, with whatever's going on in life. So that's just a big one we try and practice together.
That's great. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's get in the last one on anxiety and the body scan. I
Yeah,
love
your
doing this.
body scan. Yes, your body scan. So you can rub your hands together. And I like to, I'll answer this. I like to just kind of trace down my temples if you want to. And you can obviously, like, wash your hands before this if you want to, but just tracing down my temples, down my forehead, just softening, down my jawline, especially. This is a big area where we hold tension. And cupping my hands here at my jaw for a second, loosening the tongue. And then you can trace down your neck, and then place your arms in your lap, and then going down the body, relaxing the shoulders, releasing the chest area. And you can breathe naturally for this. Relaxing the forearms, and each of the fingers. And you can obviously, go through each finger, but I'm doing a little faster right now. Releasing tension in your stomach area. Letting your hips sink into the floor below you. Letting your thighs relax. The knees, the calf muscles, and the ankles. And then each of the toes, letting them relax further and further. Sitting with that for a few seconds. And then excuse me, the way to come out of it, if you're deeply relaxed and need to, and the way I come out of it with clients, wiggling your hands and your toes. Bringing any awareness into those areas as you tilt your chin upwards. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. That was deeply relaxing. You probably want to fall asleep as well. This will help me relax too and go to sleep soon as well. But for many of you to get through your evenings as well, and just taking these moments for yourself. So that's a really great one when it's really great for sleep, but it's great for, yeah, if something's going on and you're feeling really anxious, you're having that anxiety. This is a great one to teach your child about the body parts, to teach your child about the ways that they can notice how they're holding tension or anxiety, where that is in the body for them, and the ways that they can help and release that too. So it's a blessing to be
Well, I
able to
noticed as you
distinguish this.
said,
Yeah.
as you were like saying I'm like, oh yeah, I am tense there. And like
Yeah.
you mentioned loosening the tongue, I'm like, Yeah, my tongue is tense. I didn't
Yeah,
even
yeah,
realize
yeah,
it. So
yeah.
that's really great as you're kind of going through. And for those of you who are right there with your kids or with your students,
Hmm.
and they're stressed, you can take them through this.
Hmm.
And yeah. The
Yeah.
other thing I wanted to mention with the essential oils, I work
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of teens, and sometimes they're like, no, I'm not going to do that. There's no way I'm going to try that.
Hmm.
You can put a little diffuser around somewhere when they're doing homework, maybe with the citrus in it, and
Sure.
sneak these
Yeah.
things
I
in.
mean, you can definitely test out different oils. I recommend having like maybe a set of like the tree oils and the citrus and the florals, and because each, like I said, each human has a different body chemistry. They're
Mm.
drawn to different ones. And there are kids, or doTERRA has a set of kids oils which are completely different from kids blends, which are
Oh,
different from the
interesting.
adult blends too. And
Hmm.
I found some clients, even elderly ones, who are like, I love this kids blend. Like, this is great for
Hmm.
me. This works. This works
That's
really well
awesome.
for me right now. So you never know. And again, I have a free consultation if you want to learn more or have samples or anything, um, as well. But those are mainly the main ones. And so I did have a really short meditation practice, but that honestly, doing that body scan is basically a lot of doing that. I will visualize in meditation, nature scenes, beach
Mm,
scenes,
yeah,
different colors, and we will go through a lot of positive affirmations, a lot of things to help you. And I talk with the client about the specific situations that are going on and tailor it to that too,
that's
to have
great.
a mindfulness practice, or the music to that too.
I love that.
Because
Well,
you'll
we're out of time, sadly.
yeah.
But one thing I would ask before anybody jumps off is to put in the chat box something that you learned today, or to say which of these you think you're going to try for yourself or for your kids. Also, we will be putting in contact information so you can
Mhm.
go to Aparna's like website and find more information because she's got a lot more information
Yeah,
to
you
share.
can. I do free 30-minute consultations on
Great.
any of these offerings, parent coaching or mindfulness oils, any of this. So yeah, I'm glad that the breathing exercises worked really well, and that was my aim with helping you all today, to learn these deeper self-regulation practices for all of you. I think these are things that will serve you in life in many, many ways. And so I hope it helps you and your family
Well,
as
I
well
already
too.
feel
So
relaxed, so
yeah.
this is great.
Yeah. So this is
I
a recording you
appreciate
can
it.
come back and watch anytime that you need it as
Yes, we
well.
will
So
have this recording, so you can come
yeah,
back, all
thank
of
you.
you, to see, if you've forgotten, or maybe you bring your kids to watch as well to,
Yeah,
fast forward to the sleep and breathing exercises, and they can do that.
absolutely.
Yeah, so awesome. So before everybody
Thank
leaves,
you.
give us a little aha moment in the chat box, and then let's give Aparna like a high five or thumbs up or something in reactions, hearts, whatever you want to give, whatever
Thank you.
celebrations, whatever comes
Thank
up
you.
for
It's an
you.
honor to be here. I was really looking forward to this, like I said, for the past 2 months, to be able to be here and help all of
Well,
you.
and the timing was great. I needed this
Yeah.
week, and I think a lot of us do in
Right.
the
A
world,
lot
and
of us
so
do. Yeah.
I appreciate that so much. All right,
Yeah.
everybody, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you spending your time with us, and tell other people about this so that they can come and watch the recording and share this wonderful information for themselves, but also for their kids too. All right. Good
Absolutely.
night, everyone, and thank you again
Thank
for joining
you.
us.